today when I was sitting outside in the front, which I usually do, I have some quiet time and I just sit there and pray, be still, watch people, and God allows some people to actually walk upon me and have conversations with me. Not that I'm not allowed to have conversations with people or anything like that. Don't take me that way. It's just that I lack a conversation that glorifies God. And those are the conversations that mean so much to me. And in that said, James DeHaven showed up. And who was James DeHaven? James DeHaven is the guy that I met today. As I was sitting there just doing my own business, I seen a man about 3 feet away and I offered him a cigarette. Looked like he was having a cigarette. And he walked on by and then I mentioned it again. Sir, you need an extra cigarette? I got a fresh cigarette here, Looks like you're at a cigarette butt, it's really low. Now, I wasn't really thinking that he's homeless or, who he is, but it's just that I was just trying to help him out a little bit. And he really smiled and he came back to give me what I needed. A conversation that glorified God, that he didn't even know that he was going to be able to do. He told me his story about his life and his disability and how he was a U.S. major in the U.S. Navy. And this was back in 1975. And he was right under 29 years old. So his story is this. He stopped at a stoplight, minded his own business. He was in a Honda dirt bike. And a lady that had no reason to be on the road, for whatever reason, was on the road and would allow God's grace in his forever love to reign upon James at that time and moment. And James wouldn't even know. He wouldn't understand what would take place in the matter of quarter seconds. But his life definitely would be turned upside down. And quite literally too. So James was stopped there, and a lady came behind him about 40 miles an hour and rear-ended him. You imagine his body flying through the middle of the air, and that's where I think it's really important. At that point in time, his body had no option but to fail. But his soul, as flying through that air, I believe that his Jesus and God and the Holy Spirit worked together to carry his soul and direct his body to a correct position of flight and pattern, and eventually land in that position for God to allow his grace for life to be put back into that man. Because nobody should have survived through that without God's grace. Nobody will survive through something like that. And I think that was just so beautiful. And my personal effect on that is I just see a bunch of angels surrounded by James's body. And, just Jesus reaching down and touching him and looking up to God, his Father, and God, his Father, granting the breath of life to be brought upon James again. And, his story was so quick. It was a matter of 2 minutes. And I had to take it all in. But I had to let the world know too, James DeHaven, you really changed my world and you really did something special for me in my heart. I promised you that I would do some writing and I would definitely keep you in my mind. And I never forget you. And it was just amazing to see God's grace upon your life and to see how that he showed up for you and to realize that he never left your side. And I think that's a prime example for a lot of people in their lives, including my own. I live and love that. I love that God has never left any of our sides. He's always here. We can't get mad at God because he's not going to do something our way or because he says no. He's God, our creator, our lover. And thank you, James DeHaven.